Looking back at your preliminary task, what do you feel you have learnt in the progression from it to the final product? Here is my preliminary task of the front cover and contents page. And here we have my final task of the front cover, contents page, and double page spread of a music magazine. The overall amount of planning that had to be done for the preliminary task was minimal compared to the amount done for the final product. For the final product, there was a lot more research that was conducted into the main areas of the production process, including genre, language, audience and representation. Questionnaires were taken alongside a focus group in order to find out what the target audience of my product would want to see in a music magazine.
You tell me we are complicated, so I bring flowers to your door. Keep saying we will never make it.
I also researched into youth subcultures to get a better understanding of what the interests are of their different cultures.
If you want, and we would count the stars in the bright night.
There was a lot of knowledge that I needed to understand and learn in the elements of creating a professional looking magazine, in which was learnt through the process from the preliminary to the final product. Within the preliminary task, I had only used Photoshop and was just getting to grips with InDesign, a new piece of software used for editing professional quality projects. The preliminary was useful for me to get the basics and aware of how to use the software, whilst letting me experiment with both pieces of software. I am now more skilled in using InDesign from just starting at the preliminary to now being able to create 3 projects on the program, all in which look professional compared to using Photoshop in my 6th form magazine. I also managed to use InDesign to my advantage and make sure the double page spread and contents page was aligned in columns with the aid of the grid tool. YouTube tutorials came in handy for this. Another piece of software that I used was iPhoto. This enabled me to import the pictures that I had taken, and my basic skills were improved on this program. From the preliminary to the final product, I was able to improve on my photography skills as well as the lighting in my final photos. The photos taken for the final product are more striking and have a more professional look. I was able to position the models in the way I felt suitable and gained more confidence as the course went along. My progression on the photography and lighting aspect was well learnt when creating the lighting for other people's photo shoots, and making sure I knew what I was to do in order to benefit my product. I managed to organise 3 different photo shoots, all in which improved on my photography skills. I have managed to learn a lot about the magazine industry, as well as learning that the process is much harder than I originally thought. I have learnt a lot through the conventions of a magazine and have now got more knowledge into why these conventions are put into place. Here is an example of a buzzword. These are put into place in order to entice the audience and make them feel more engaged. I have also been able to develop my skills in using the technique of GLAN, genre, language, audience, representation and narrative. This technique gave me a specific method and indication of what to analyse and how to analyse it. Research into other music magazines' target audience and how the magazine was laid out was also beneficial in my progression for this course. I looked at 3 different types of magazines: Q, Kerrang and Rock Sound. Pull text was a very useful technique that helped me split up the text and entice the reader. This was showcased on the double page spread, and this made the overall image of the pages look more aesthetically pleasing. Here is the example of pull text. An easy way to show how my final product has differed to my preliminary is how the masthead conforms to the stereotypical magazine conventions of being larger than the rest of the text on the front cover. Here is my final product compared to my preliminary. Within the production of the final piece, I have considered the audience's preferences more than what I did in the preliminary. I also created a lexicon of words for the final product, which is something I had to learn in order to conform to the music magazine conventions of language-specific articles. I have also learnt what audiences prefer through the large amount of audience feedback that I had been given, which was not done for the preliminary task. This can be seen through the use of my questionnaires and focus group. Although the preliminary task was not a music magazine, it enabled me to get to grips with the layout, software, editing and photography skills that I would need for the final piece. Overall, I am extremely proud of my progress from the first task to the final task. I feel as though I've managed to come a long way with my skills and have therefore gained a better understanding of what is needed in a music magazine. If I had more time, I would have made improvements on the colours featured on the double page spread images and made them slightly more of a high contrast to fit within the house style. Other than that, I'm really pleased with what I've managed to create.
And there's still a chance for me. Oh.